You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Here are your college football lines from out in the desert. It all gets rolling Saturday morning at noon Eastern as the Michigan State Spartans are a 5-point favorite at the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. The over-under is 51. The Terrapins of Maryland, they travel to Ohio State and are getting 3 touchdowns and a hook. The over-under is 71. South Carolina Gamecocks getting 10.5 at the Tennessee Volunteers, with the over-under being 56.5. And the Florida Gators are a whopping 39-point favorites against the Vanderbilt Commodores in Gainesville. The number sits at 60. Red River Rivalry. Oklahoma Sooners, a 3-point favorite as they battle the Texas Longhorns. The over-under is 63.5. And a battle of a couple of teams that just got walloped. Arkansas, plus 5.5 at the Ole Miss Rebels. Looking ahead to 3:30 Eastern, the Florida State Seminoles are getting 17.5 in Chapel Hill as they take on the Tar Heels. The over-under sits at 64.5. Wake Forest, undefeated on the season, -6 at Syracuse. The number's 57.5. In your SEC game of the day, the Georgia Bulldogs, -16 on the Plains of Auburn. 46.5 is the number. Wisconsin is an 11-point favorite in Champaign against the Fighting Illini. 42 is the over-under. And the big one of the day, the Penn State Nittany Lions are a 1.5-point underdog at Iowa as they take on the Hawkeyes. The over-under sits at just 41. 7:30 Eastern, the LSU Tigers plus 3.5. The over-under is 50.5 as they travel to Lexington to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Michigan Wolverines are just a 3.5-point favorite in Lincoln, Nebraska, battling the Cornhuskers. 50.5 is the over-under. And the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are a pick'em in Blacksburg as they'll go head-to-head against the Virginia Tech Hokies. 47 is the number. The Alabama Crimson Tide, they travel to Aggie Land, taking on Texas A&M. 18.5-point favorites. 51 is the number. And if you're looking for late night action, the UCLA Bruins are a 16-point favorite at Arizona. The lines for the National Football League for Sunday, October 10th, look like this. The game across the pond at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Jets plus 2.5 at the Falcons. Over-under is 45. At 1 o'clock Eastern back here in the States, you got the Dolphins of Buccaneers going head-to-head with the Bucks giving up 10. The over-under is 48. Philly plus 3 at Carolina. The over-under sits at 45. And the Saints are at the Washington football team. They're giving up 2.5. The number sits at 43.5. The Tennessee Titans come to the First Coast to take on the Fighting Urban Meyers. Jaguars are getting 5. The number sits at 48.5. Lions and Vikings. Detroit plus 9.5. The over-under is 49.5. And the Broncos and Steelers, they're a pick'em. 39.5 is the number, while the Packers are giving up 3.5 in Cincinnati. 50.5 is the over-under. Patriots a 10-point favorite at the Texans. And at 4 o'clock Eastern, you got the Bears plus 5.5. The over-under at 44 in Vegas. Cleveland is getting 2 on the road. They take on the Chargers. The number sits at 47. And the Giants plus 7.5 in Dallas. A 4:25 kickoff. 52 is the over-under. 49ers in Arizona looks to be Trey Lance versus Murray. The Niners getting 5. The over-under is 50. And Sunday Night Football doesn't get much bigger than this. The Buffalo Bills are getting a field goal in Kansas City at Arrowhead. The over-under is 56.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.
morning. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Doing it a little different nowadays. So I wanted to bring back some old-time radio experience. We'll be doing the video here in a little bit as the guys will be joining me. But until then, we're going to do this old school. And why the hell not? Because we can. We're just going to get you caught up to date on what's going on in the world of sports here in a flash, as we've got a couple of games to talk about, a couple of series to talk about that are getting started today. We know the American League got going yesterday, and we will be jumping into that here in just a little bit, but I wanted to go ahead and start off with the National League series that are going to start today. And you've got the Braves. They are a plus 120 underdog for the series going up against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's set to be Charlie Morton and Corbin Burns in Game 1, and in Game 2, it'll be Woodruff versus Max Fried. Now, I'll get into this a little bit more when we do the Braves country coming up at 9:30 Eastern, as these are now just over 2 hours when you count Tony coming on at 8 and Justin at 8:30. Joey will stay with me through the 9:30 slot, and then 9:30 to 10 we'll talk baseball primarily. So we've got so much to get into and little time to do it. I did want to touch on, for people who can't join us later in the show, you've got the Braves and the Brewers. The Brewers are slight favorites, but losing Devin Williams is a bigger deal than what I think a lot of teams realize, or a lot of bettors realize, and not having your setup guy on a team that lives on the bullpen, it's going to make the bullpen a lot shorter, and it's going to make it a little more difficult to close out these games. And it's not just because I'm going to be broadcasting the game tonight at 4:37 Eastern. You'll be able to tune in at 4:30. Might even do a little longer pregame show. So we'll come on somewhere between 4 p.m. and 4:15 Eastern and get you going there. But game starts at 4:37, first pitch. And it's not just because I'm a Braves fan. I've been doing Braves baseball all this year, or towards the end of this year, and I've been watching the Braves for, Lord, what is this, 2021? I hate to admit it, but I've been watching the Braves for about 40 years. Almost 40 years. In earnest, I started watching the Atlanta Braves in 1982. I was aware of them, pulled for them in 81 as a kid. 1980s when I first started watching baseball, right at 1980. But in earnest, I became a baseball fan in 82. I became a Braves fan in 82. We were getting the TBS station down in Jacksonville, Florida, and I hooked onto them and never let go. It's not just because of that. I am picking the Atlanta Braves to win this, and I'll get into all the reasons why later on in the show. But essentially, I'm getting into it, getting into the Braves and picking the Braves, and normally I would say, my God, they're just that closer, Will Smith. He's going to blow it. We know he's going to blow it. He's been pitching a little better. But I really don't think it's all going to be left up to Will Smith at the back end of the game. I think it's going to be a joint effort. And Atlanta's going to have some bumpy rides. But I do believe their offense is much more explosive than Milwaukee. The pitching staff is much deeper as far as the starters. The front ends, the top two for Milwaukee, are just as good, if not better, than the top two for Atlanta. But I believe Atlanta's deeper. If you go 3, you might even have to go 4 pitchers in this series. But we'll get into that later. But I do believe that you're going to get an Atlanta team that is going to win this thing. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. But they've got the offense to make life miserable for any team if they can get going and get hot. And that's what you can't be a doom and gloomer and say, well, they're just not going to be able to hit. Atlanta has found ways to hit. And this offense is just as explosive as the one that went to the NLCS last year. They don't have Acuna. They don't have Ozuna. But what they do have is a collective that is just as explosive. So that's where I start with that. And as far as the Dodgers and Giants are concerned, they're going to start off with Buehler and Logan Webb tonight. Now, Gausman's going to go tomorrow night. But that loss of Clayton Kershaw with the San Francisco Giants hosting the Dodgers and the Dodgers losing Kershaw, I get it. He's not the Clayton Kershaw 4 years ago. But that's a devastating blow. Not having Max Muncy, that's a devastating blow. And yet this morning I wake up and I look at the line, and the Giants are an underdog in the series. They won the division. They are hosting 3 of 5 games if it goes that far. And they are a fantastic baseball team top to bottom. But they don't get the respect in the betting community because they don't have the glitz and glamour, not just of Los Angeles, but you can't grab the average Joe off the street and say, give me 4 names on the Giants roster. Your average baseball fan, your average bettor, they know the Max Scherzers. They know Trey Turner. The 2 of them won a World Series a couple of years ago. Cody Bellinger is a household name. Mookie Betts. Even coming off the bench with Albert Pujols. If you don't know Corey Seager and Justin Turner, you don't know baseball. And you've got Kenley Jansen, who's been there for the entire ride. This is a team that is loaded with names. But the San Francisco Giants, you've got Buster Posey with all his rings. Brandon Crawford with all his rings. You think they don't know how to get it done? Evan Longoria, Chris Bryant, Yastrzemski, Gausman, Logan Webb. These are all guys that helped the Giants get to where they were this year. But if you think many know Anthony DeSclafani, or he's affectionately known as the Disco Stick, you think many of them pay attention to Tommy La Stella. This is a team that can make a deep run into October, and you can get them as an underdog in the series. You never see a divisional champion as an underdog at home. But that's how much the defending world champions are thought of, and rightfully so. They've earned their respect. But I don't think folks realize some of the smaller pieces that are going to be huge in this series. Lamont Wade Jr., Duggar, Brandon Crawford, I just mentioned him a second ago, but his reputation does not precede him, and it should. It's asinine. And as far as that pitching staff goes, you've got guys like Cueto and Gausman who have been through the wars. You've got a young stud Logan Webb that's going to go tonight. This is going to be an exciting series. Alex Wood. Alex Wood was a Dodger for years. And before that, he was with the Braves. Alex Wood's been through the wars. This is going to be an exciting series, and I hope a lot of y'all stay up. I'm going to be sleep deprived, and I don't care because I can't wait for this to get going tonight. Let's go and transition over to football real quick. We will be talking AL baseball in a second when the guys join. I kind of want to get their take before I throw mine out there from yesterday. We'll dive into some of these spreads that you may not have had a chance to look at. I know your average bettor really starts looking at them on Friday for the college football lineups, but I do start looking at them pretty early in the week just so I know what I'm talking about and know why the line's moving, where the money's going with the public. All those are very, very important. One of the most intriguing ones to me is Rutgers getting 5 at home against Michigan State. Look, that's going to be a very tight, contested game. Rutgers did not look good last week. I don't think they're going to lay an egg 2 weeks in a row. But I also believe that Michigan State might be a tad underrated. And I would normally go with the Scarlet Knights at home, but I'm starting to lean where I think Michigan State might be the team to take in that game. Maryland, Ohio State, I don't know if 21.5 is enough. Ohio State's going to run that score because they're trying to get back into the conversation of the national picture. Tennessee is giving up 10.5 on a noon kickoff in Knoxville. The early kickoff concerns me a little bit. And it is a big spread for a conference game. But South Carolina is terrible. And we saw what Tennessee did to Missouri. South Carolina is worse than Missouri. South Carolina can't move the ball. At least Missouri can move the ball a little bit. So I think you're probably pretty safe. Strangely enough, you don't expect someone to say this because of recent history. But Tennessee, I think they probably cover that 10.5. The Florida Gators giving up 39 against Vanderbilt at home. I'm going to say what I said before when they played the Georgia Bulldogs. How is Vanderbilt going to score? Their over-under on scoring is 10.5. And that means that they've got to keep Florida under 50, and I just don't know if it's possible. I really don't think Vanderbilt scores on Florida other than maybe like a goofy touchdown somehow. This Vanderbilt team is much worse than the ones before. I think they've regressed. Now, whether or not this is the long-term goal, et cetera, it's for another day. Oklahoma is giving up 3 against Texas. I'm not convinced that either one of them is as good as the public thinks. This is such a strange rivalry, though. On paper, Oklahoma should win this thing by 7, 10, maybe 14 points. But you say that every year, and the Red River rivalry is one that I usually steer clear of because it's a little daunting. Now, Ole Miss giving up 5.5 against Arkansas, that's interesting to me. Because Arkansas, after watching them last Saturday, their offense is putrid. And you know Kiffin's going to want to put some points up. So I am leaning on that Ole Miss minus 5.5. I like it a lot. I find the over-under a little strange. It's just showing you how there's no respect to Ole Miss's defense. They're expecting the Razorbacks to score 30.5 points, give or take. That Razorback offense is terrible. I went back and watched a couple Arkansas games to go, what the hell happened? They got very fortunate in earlier games, and mainly it was because of field position, turnovers, etc. Other games, as we navigate real quick, because I'm going to put a button in here because Tony's coming up here in just a second. The 4 o'clock game tomorrow, that one's huge. Penn State, Iowa. I do believe Iowa's the better team. I think Iowa's, once again, just being thought of as less. They should be a 3-point to 4-point favorite at home across the board if you think the two teams are even. So that's Vegas saying they believe Penn State's better. And the numbers just don't show it to me. When I see Iowa, they're not what Iowa used to be. No, they're not high-flying and whatnot, but they move the ball and they find ways to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and their defense is stout. It's going to be a mighty task for Penn State to go in there and beat them. Wake Forest, just a 6-point favorite at Syracuse at 3:30. Wake Forest is good, my friends. Florida State getting 17.5 against North Carolina. I doubt that's enough. Florida State wins one lousy football game, and you see the Florida State Twitter go, "We're back, baby, we're back. This team is really, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." No, we're not. We barely hung on. It's kind of to my point to why you should take Wake Forest minus the 6 against Syracuse. Syracuse is a terrible football team. Florida State's a terrible football team. They just happen to be at home. I think if that thing's in the Carrier Dome, Florida State loses by about the same margin. Those teams are dead even as far as being putrid. It's hard to watch, but I will watch it. Luckily, the Braves will be playing at 5 o'clock, and I'm going to be doing that game, so more of my attention will be on that, and I'll have it on a second device and just keeping an eyeball on it every once in a while. Georgia minus 16 at Auburn. That's interesting on the Plains. Usually that rivalry spells to your typical, you wouldn't want to give up 16 points, but my God, Georgia looks good. My question in that game is not whether or not who to take, it's how much Georgia can win by. And that's a lot, 16 points on the Plains. But once again, teams just aren't moving the ball against Georgia. Now this is a much better test, but you're trying to tell me Bo Nix isn't going to throw a pick six or do something stupid to put his team in peril? And a couple more. Kentucky minus 3 at home against LSU. Kentucky's good, and I think they're being undervalued. Notre Dame's a pick'em at Virginia Tech. That's an interesting game. I get that Blacksburg is a night game, but I would think Notre Dame's going to have some pride and go out there and get that W. And Alabama, 18.5-point favorites in College Station against A&M. A&M has not shown me that they're very good at all. That was a big fraudulent, was a few weeks ago, where Arkansas won against A&M, and it was like, wow, Arkansas is good, and I bought into it. And then I saw Arkansas on the football field against a good football team, and I was like, whoa, I think what we missed out here was that A&M sucks. They suck bad. We'll grab a couple NFL ones and then jump off here. The Sunday morning game that I think is going to get overlooked a little bit. Keep an eye where that line is. The Jets are getting 2.5. They're not going to have Ridley. And that's a big deal. And I believe that the Jets are going to be able to move the ball. See if that line goes up, because the money's still coming in on Atlanta. The perception is Jets really bad. And they're not a very good football team, but they found a way to beat Tennessee when they were missing their receivers. So keep an eye on that. Bucks 10-point favorite at Miami. Please, Miami stinks. Bucks are going to roll. They're going to absolutely assert domination of the state, and it's going to be a wrap. 2 more. We'll grab 2 more. So we'll be talking about this later on in the show anyways. What about the Bills getting 3 in Kansas City? That's a fun one. The over-under is 56.5. That's a fun one. I would be ready to roll with the over, mainly because it's a Sunday night game and I want to have some fun and I want to get my popcorn out. The other game of interest to me, and you look at these lines, the Chargers only giving up 2 to Cleveland. Cleveland's got to go West Coast. And that Chargers defense is better than advertising. It's good enough to where when the Chargers are putting up their points, it's hard to keep up with them. And I think one of the more heavily betted games this weekend so far, it's going to be Pittsburgh at home against Denver, who just got drilled. But can Denver go on the road and beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh? That is going to be a muck and yuck game. The over-under's 39.5, and I don't think it gets there. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll bring old Tony Agolini here into the show and start the video.
We now return you to the music of Ramon Raquello, playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.
Good morning. Trying to get Tony looks like he's stuck. I've let him in the room, but he's spinning. So I did send him a note to jump in and jump out. I don't know. I let him in the room about 5 minutes ago because I saw him pop up during the old timey radio show. I don't know if y'all liked it or not, but I enjoy it, and I'm going to continue to do it most likely. Waiting for him to rejoin. So until then, let's go ahead and start talking about what happened yesterday in Major League Baseball. So we're going to get into football here really quick as soon as Tony can join. Houston just demolished Chicago, and the Red Sox didn't put up much of a fight. I found it hard to believe that the first time ever in the history of Major League Baseball, someone stole home and hit a home run in the same game. That floored me. Of course, home runs weren't so prevalent years ago, and they kind of quit stealing bases, so it kind of makes sense. I think Tony's finally starting to join. I see that he's now in the rooms, so we'll just wait for his devices to catch up to speed. Here he comes in. But I was shocked by that. Tony, how are you, sir?
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm good. I think your device was stuck in limbo. I was ending the beginning of the show, the old man radio thing going on that I've been trying out. And I look over and I keep seeing joining. I was like, I don't think he knows. I don't think he has a clue that I've let him in, and it's just stuck in limbo. So I had another device join just to double check it wasn't something I was doing, and it came right in. So I was like, I don't know what the heck's going on. But anyways, I was just wrapping up some MLB talk, mainly the Tampa Bay Rays. I know you're a quasi Rays fan living in Florida. Did you watch any of that game last night?
I caught a little bit and then caught the highlights this morning. The home run was pretty nuts, and then stealing home runs.
Yeah, I was. Were you not shocked to hear that was the first time that's ever happened in a postseason game? The same player steal home and hit a home run.
I guess it makes sense, but yeah, that would have surprised me too. I think
it shocked me. I mean, you're talking about 100 and something years of postseason baseball. They started playing the postseason officially, keeping track of it in 1903. You thought someone would have went like back asswards into it, right?
Yeah, it probably happened in 1902, and we just missed out on it. And it was a thing in 1902, so they started watching.
The first person that came to my mind was like Jackie Robinson or Ricky Henderson.
Vince Coleman from here.
Well,
in Jacksonville.
The problem with him is getting the ball out of the park. Now, maybe an inside the park home run, but
yeah,
I knew
lots of fireworks from Vince.
I knew Babe Ruth's big lard butt wasn't going to be stealing it, but it shocked me that someone along the way didn't get it, because before about a little over 100 years ago, a lot of these stadiums didn't have structures, didn't have walls. So there were a lot of inside the parkers back then, because then we could just get past some guy and it's just rolling around out there in the field, and like the fans would just kind of stand out of the way as this guy's trying to sift through the crowd. The guy scores easily. So though they didn't have a wall, they had a wall, because once you hit it in the crowd, it was a wrap. And if someone had bet against your team, there's no way you're getting that ball back. That thing's getting kicked over into the shrubs or whatever. So anyways, it's off to a good start for Tampa.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, up 1-0. I usually always look to see what Zunino did, of course, and he had a hit last night. Actually got a regular hit. Usually it's either strikeout or home run for him, but I guess that's noteworthy too.
It's funny. I don't know if you saw it live, but when it happened, that's essentially what the broadcast team said.
Yeah,
he has the highest home run rate of anyone in baseball, meaning that most of his hits are home runs, and if they're not home runs, they're usually strikeouts. Because it was funny how they put it when the ball fell into play. John Smoltz was the color guy, and he said, and Zunino actually gets a base hit. And I was like,
yeah,
what was he talking about? I've seen Zunino get base hits. Like what is he? I was like, oh, okay, he's talking because it's not a four bagger. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. go ahead and dive into the problems at hand here in Jacksonville. Your boy,
It's always something.
Urban Meyer. My God, what is going on?
I don't get it. They got to show up this weekend and play. If they get blown out the next few weeks, he's done here because it means he's completely lost the locker room. As much as they don't want to say it this week, and as nice, I guess, as the players have been to the media, but I don't get how you don't fly back with the team first. It's not like
that's the thing. I don't care that he was grinding with some chick because we all know that he hasn't been faithful to his wife. It's why he got ran out of Florida, or she ran him out of Florida with the infidelities. Heck, she busted him screwing around with one of the girls on the volleyball team who was a teammate of his daughter. So this guy's definitely a slime ball. But he doesn't go back on the flight with his team. And then didn't you love the press conference clipper? I couldn't get a clean one. Everyone that I got, there was background noise, so you couldn't hear it well. But his quote was, in the middle of all this, and he's just pulling on the heartstrings. Yes, I stayed back to hang out with the grandkids, and yeah, that's what you did. That's what you did.
You do that, like at least fly back with the team, and then it's not like he's got to fly commercial. Like the dude's got more money than he knows what to do with. Get a next jet or whatever it is to fly up there. Go to your buddy's birthday party. It's at your restaurant. Like how do you get in trouble at your own restaurant? Like, can you imagine, like Spurrier has his restaurant now, in Gainesville. And, you imagine him like 20 years ago going to hang out there, getting hammered and, doing whatever in front of the camera. And you got to know now everybody's got a camera. So whatever you do, if you're somewhat famous, is going to be on, whatever social media. And then he's wearing an Ohio State pullover, not really trying to hide who he is either. But anyway, yeah, just a mess, and it's another PR disaster for him, another PR disaster for the Jaguars, another PR disaster under Shad Khan. But hopefully they can maybe pull it together and finally get a win. I think a win will help a lot. But that's the biggest thing is has he lost the team behind closed doors already? I don't know. We'll kind of find that out. They've gotten better, it seems like, week to week. They getting closer to getting a win, and I know there's no moral victories, but at least they haven't started at week one and gotten worse. Like they seem to have gotten a little bit better. Lawrence is starting to look more and more comfortable. Defense is playing a little bit better. They just lost DJ Chark, so we'll see if they can find any kind of like downfield presence or whatever, but they're starting to give the ball to Robinson a little bit more too. So hopefully that'll all add up to a win, but something needs to happen to kind of turn the page, because this is as longer this lingers, the bigger of a disaster it is. It's not going away really, but
yeah, it's funny because I called this 2-3 years ago, whenever it was that he got in trouble with Ohio State for hiding all the wife beating that took place in Florida, and then it followed him up there at Ohio State with the assistant coach. And I said then, Urban Meyer is going to be the next Southern Cal football coach coming from the outside. And it's taken a long roundabout, but this is where this is heading. And I know a lot of people are sitting there saying, well, I don't know if Southern Cal wants to bring on his kind of basically, without saying it, they're calling him a terrible human being and saying that they don't know if they want to bring in someone whose moral character is in question. But the guy wins. That's what Southern Cal is starved for. And he'd have a new start out there in California, which is what he always likes to have. And the California girls, isn't there a song in there somewhere? That dude's going to Southern Cal, man.
and that's such a big place. Like one of the reasons Chip Kelly fits in there is, if Chip Kelly goes out to eat in Gainesville, everybody knows who he is. If Chip Kelly goes out to eat in LA,
they know, but they don't care.
Right. Yeah.
Because Urban Meyer would be sitting across from Brad Pitt, right?
Right.
And I mean, and at that point, you're not really a star. Now, can his ego take that? That's the question. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. And plus, LA's got a lot more places in which there aren't camera phones allowed, right?
Right.
So that's where he'll be hanging. And Southern Cal, when it's rolling, it is like having a head coach job in the National Football League, because you're surrounded by NFL scouts constantly. They're going to pour money in him. It's Urban Meyer. I would be shocked if he makes it out of November as the Jaguars coach, and it won't even make it a year of the announcement of his signing. And it's sad and it's pathetic, but I think what Shad Khan's probably and company are probably looking at now is how to do this without having to pay him a bunch of money.
Yeah. And at some point too, I mean, this is what, hire 3 now for Khan. Like, if this doesn't work out, at some point it also falls back on the owner too. Like,
oh yeah,
making these hires.
Well, it was an exciting, but it was a head scratching move when he hired Myers.
Yeah.
Because when you hire Myers, you're hiring him for the name. He's going to come in. He's going to teach the young quarterback how to play, blah, blah, blah. He had a lot of success, although it was all tainted 90 minutes away from here. So the excitement was through the roof. But conversely, my biggest question with him, and I wasn't worried about if he was going to be out there diddling 20-year-olds, because I knew that's what he did. Heck, when that first happened in Gainesville years ago, I was sitting in a bar in Middle Tennessee next to a sports writer who leans over to me, says, I can't tell you how I know this, but Urban Meyer is about to leave Florida, and he's going to claim it's health related, and it's not. And I was like, what is it? And he shows me text messages of a guy who's a writer from down here. I can't remember if it was Gainesville or Jacksonville, because it's been years ago, and I was a little groggy with all that beer in me. But anyways, I was like, what? And I was skeptical. And then the news came out. I was like, maybe. And then it was a few years later that all the news came out about him and the girl from the volleyball team. And every time I talk to the guy, he's always got that, told you so kind of thing. But
yeah, and the killer back then too is Foley kind of begged him to stay another year, and from 2009 to 2010. And that's kind of even when it got worse, because the 2010 team kind of knew he was leaving and kind of quit on him. And then recruiting took a crap, and then Muschamp had to change the entire really culture of the locker room. But by the time he did that, he was losing to Vanderbilt and Georgia Southern, and he was showing the door. So yeah, it definitely started a vicious cycle. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. I think the longer Meyer is with Jacksonville, like if he is with the Jaguars through the end of the year, Southern Cal is probably looking to make that hire like right after conference championship games, especially if it's like Fickell at Cincinnati and they're not in the playoffs, or I've heard Franklin's name bounced around. I tend to think if you're not going to get Meyer, I think Fickell is like a mini Meyer without the off the field crap. He kind of came from, he's coached under Meyer. He kind of knows how to run that program. And Cincinnati's obviously been very impressive under his watch. So and the AD at Southern Cal has some Cincinnati ties. He brought Fickell to Cincinnati. So that's just a name to watch for. They could go celebrity with Urban Meyer. They could go celebrity with James Franklin. Somebody has to want to go there too. I do think the Pac-10, at least this year, has made at least a little bit better name for itself. Like don't you feel a little bit better about the Pac-10 this year versus like last year, the year before?
Yeah, well, look, I think the Pac-12 is, look, Oregon dropping that game was not good, but it also shows you the depth of that conference and
how good Moorhead is as an offensive coordinator. I guess they didn't have him and got somebody else calling plays, and they didn't do quite as well.
Sure. So yeah, there's a big game in the Pac-12 tonight. Stanford is at Arizona State, 10:30 tonight. Now, I don't know why they're playing it that late, even though they told us all this jargon. What was it, 2-3 years ago? We're going to start playing early games. We don't even play at 9 a.m. local time to go out there and really get it going. Yeah. So people will watch our games and they're going, no, we'll do 10:30 East.
Hey, when you've got Cincinnati and Temple playing, you gotta put off. You got to put off Arizona State and Stanford.
I mean, look, we couldn't start that Cincinnati Temple game at 6.
Right. I know.
Seriously.
Do it for basketball. I mean, come on.
No, and no one's tuning into that, by the way. Yeah. But if they are tuning into that, they're going to wait till the second half to go, oh, well, maybe it's close.
I'm not even tuning in for that.
No. The Major League Baseball playoffs are going on today because they're quadruple header. They're going to dwarf their ratings. It's stupid to start that at 10:30. They're going to start Arizona State at 10:30. And what is it? About, I think, 30 minutes before that? No, almost an hour before that, Dodgers Giants starts. Right. Now, if you're out in the left coast, what are you going to be watching if you're in California tonight? Arizona State versus the Trees or Dodgers Giants game 1?
Dodgers Giants.
That game's not starting early enough, but that's because we live here in the present time as opposed to the past out there on the left coast. But anyways, other games going on. Not a whole lot to talk about with Florida Vanderbilt, other than the fact that they're a 39-point favorite. Good
yeah, we can rehash Saturday real quick.
Yeah.
To me, this is easily the worst loss that Mullins had, and maybe the worst loss in a bunch of years for the program. LSU last year was bad, but you missed a kick to win it, and you had a kid throw a shoe, and you did a bunch of dumb things on offense all game, and you really, LSU, you can look at that. They've got a pretty talented roster from last year and kind of had that national championship hangover.
Is this Kentucky team? Is it time to fire Mullen and then you get in a bidding war with Southern Cal for Urban Meyer?
Yeah, I still do think Mullen needs to make some changes, but I do think he's the right guy. I think recruiting needs to take a step forward. There's a couple assistants that need to go, but he needs to get back to that mentality he had a couple years ago, where he used to preach winning every down and that kind of thing. Because that didn't happen Saturday. We had 17 false start penalties. It felt like a couple other dumb, selfish after the whistle penalties. It was one of those. You really couldn't even pin it on Emory Jones either, because Emory Jones actually didn't play that bad. He didn't do anything.
I don't think he did either. I thought he played a pretty good game.
Yeah, he didn't do anything to win the game, but he didn't lose anything to cost us the game. I think the biggest thing, kind of the game in a nutshell, we finally get an interception, which is few and far between because we play so much one-on-one in the backfield. Levis threw one over a kid's head by about 20 feet, so luckily we had a guy standing there for no reason behind him. Return it. On the return, we get a 15-yard penalty for a peel back block, which was the right call. So instead of getting the ball to 15, we get it at 30. We do nothing with it. Richardson comes in. Looks like he's about 75%, which that might work against USF and FAU, but it's not working against Kentucky. Kick a field goal, get a block. They shove it up our butt. They run it back for a touchdown, and all of a sudden we're behind. And the offense has done next to nothing the entire game. When they have done something, we've shot ourselves in the foot with penalties. So that was kind of the game. You still have a chance to win at the end. We call 0 plays to go to the end zone. We do hit on a wide receiver screen. Unfortunately, Copeland had to fall down on the way there and lose yardage. But after all that, you lose in Lexington for the first time since 1986. And I wouldn't have even minded losing if they, beat us by 2 touchdowns and they look good and we look like crap and whatever. But they stink. Like, they've got to lose 3 games for us to get to Atlanta. They're going to lose 3 games for us to get to Atlanta, but we're not going to get by Georgia, so it doesn't matter.
They had 87 yards passing.
Yeah.
87.
And Levis isn't bad either. Like, the defense wasn't awful. Like, the defense was fine. You've got one player on that team you have to be responsible for, and that's Williams, number 1. Of course, we let him break free on a wide receiver screen and for a touchdown. But other than that, I think that was the only play you had. You do all that, you lose, you look like crap doing it, you shoot yourself in the foot, and we're going to find out by the end of the year, like, Kentucky's not any good. Like, Kentucky's going to win, 8 games, maybe? Like, they'll probably lose to LSU Saturday. They still got to play Georgia.
Pierce averaged 8 yards a carry.
And should have 20 carries a game.
But only got 8 carries. Like, what?
Right.
Like, what is that? They're
still getting cute with trying to rotate these running backs, but Pierce is the most experienced. He blocks the best, which you got to do in Mullins' offense, and he's a bulldozer really with it. He's the only big back that we have. Davis is flashy. Naquan Wright's more of a scat back. feed the ball to Pierce.
Well, I was just about to say, can we quit trying to run it up the gut with Naquan Wright? Because the guy on Saturday, 5 carries, 7 yards.
Right. He's great if you can get him on the outside, and he's good if you can get the second level because he's quick. But Pierce is your best running back. Like, give him the ball 15 to 20 times. They're just doing something. They got too many guys in the room that they're trying to make happy. Like, just pick a guy and go with it. Quit worrying about who's going to transfer and who's not. Just go in the football game. Like, keep your quarterbacks happy. But these running backs, like, hey, if they're not happy, they're going to leave anyway. Like, pick a guy and go win the game. Quit trying to make everybody happy. And
it truly is dumbfounding.
I don't get it. You should know your roster by now.
Absolutely. I don't get it at all, but anyways, it's funny how stuff like that happens, and then the next week you're going to be playing Vanderbilt, and that's a really easy way to get healthy in a very short period of time.
Yeah,
they may be the worst team in college football.
Hopefully they approach it like Georgia. Georgia was pissed anyway because Vanderbilt had canceled a couple times last year, and I guess Georgia never got to have a senior day, and Vanderbilt's the one that screwed all that up. So Smart was pretty pissed at Vanderbilt anyway, so he was trying to score 100. Mason left, so Mullen doesn't have anybody to be mad at Vanderbilt. So I think Florida will be fine, like 42-17 or something. I'd like them to score 80 just to kind of make us all feel a little bit better, but it's not going to matter because we're going to LSU next weekend with a noon kickoff, which is a blessing for us because we probably won't have 15 false starts playing at LSU at noon. But anyway, we're behind the 8 ball now because you got to win out to have any shot at Atlanta and have to have a lot of teams lose. Hopefully Georgia will drop one tomorrow, but I don't trust Auburn's better than I thought they would be, but I don't trust them to hold serve at home against Georgia. Patrick Nix Bo Nix isn't going to be able to pull plays out of his butt.
Georgia's playing a different level.
Yeah.
It's them in Alabama and then the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, you've got to make Georgia play from behind. Nobody's done that yet, and I don't know who will.
There literally is like there's 2 dominant teams in the Southeastern Conference, and then the rest is a crapshoot.
Right.
Which you would rather have the entire thing to be a crapshoot. To be honest with you, it would be better for college football. They always think these big monumental clashes are going to be great. No, they're not, because the Georgia Auburn game, for instance, no one's going to watch it until maybe second half if they see the scores.
Right.
So, because after what we just saw with Arkansas, everyone's like, I'm not buying into this junk again.
Yeah.
We're up on time, so we got to run. What is your walk-off for the day?
I'm going to catch a little golf today. I mentioned last week the senior tour is here in town, so I'm going to go out to Timuquana for a few hours and watch them, see what that's like. First tournament there, so should be pretty cool. It's a pretty loaded field if you're counting golfers we grew up watching. One of the groups has Stricker, Davis Love, and Fred Couples, and then another group has Mickelson, Furyk, and Retief Goosen. So it is a pretty loaded field. It'll be cool. Hopefully it's an event that'll stick around, but we'll see. Sometimes these do like 3 years, and then they say kind of yes or no if they want to stay or not. So we'll see how it goes. But it should be nice weather out there, and then I'll hop on with you guys tomorrow morning, either on the way or right before I leave for Gainesville.
Sounds good. All right, brother. Well, we will see you mañana, and hopefully they can have this thing later or earlier in the year, because I wouldn't mind going out to it, but I'm not going to do it in October. I mean, my God, let's do it. Let's start this thing on the day that the Braves playoff run starts.
That's right. I was going to say a ton of baseball today too, so that'll be cool.
We will have the coverage here. 4:37 first pitch.
There you go. All right, boys.
All right, brother. We'll be back here in a flash.
If women disappeared from the planet for 24 hours.
Not drop the soap. Listen, did you know that a group of porcupines is called a prickle? Now you do.
What is that?
Backpack and a microphone.
Oh, you heard that correctly. In 1980, 49ers quarterback Steve DeBerg developed laryngitis and needed help projecting his voice at the line of scrimmage. So the team went ahead and strapped a frickin' loudspeaker to his back so he could call signals through a microphone. Seriously, we became obsessed. How was this possible? How did we not know about this? We needed answers. One of the main concerns that week was playing in Shea Stadium against the Jets, where all the noise from the real Jets up above might drown out their quarterback's hoarse voice. Very few NFL achievements can actually match the ingenuity, the audacity of the shoulder pad loudspeaker. Steve DeBerg, we salute you.
What you're doing in Cobb County. Bitch, I'm leaving. Don't nobody visit no Cobb County. They got all the questions when they pull you up. Do you mind if I search your vehicle? Hell yeah, I mind if you search my vehicle. Because I don't know what you're looking for. And I know you ain't lost my vehicle. Ask me all these dumb questions. Well, we're looking for drugs and large amounts of cash. Me too. We looking for the same. We should ride together. They ain't trying to trick me. You mind stepping out your vehicle so I can hear you a little bit better? These cars are passing by pretty quick. I was like, yeah, I mind stepping out the vehicle. Well, why is that? Because every that done stepped out the vehicle ain't ever getting back in the vehicle. That's why.
Armchair.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio Station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio. Stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. I'm in trouble, gentlemen. It's my anniversary this weekend, and I need an excuse. What you got?
I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. I know what I got. You don't get married in freaking football season. That's something you got to go back and rewind. I don't know much, but I know one thing. We had a Geno Smith sighting last night. And he wasn't even getting punched in the mouth. Maybe he should have been.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee, sitting alongside Justin Waller and Joey Ariola. Joey, how the hell are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'll be thinking of excuses for Justin as long as the show goes on.
Is there a wrestling event anywhere around me or something? Can you get me tickets or need help moving? when you boys need some?
Yeah, I can have a few things moved. Come on down, man. We'll get Geno Smith and you over, and we'll get some moving. Good morning, boys.
What year is this for you, Justin?
Dan Marino, 13.
13. Ooh. Yeah, I wouldn't play around, man. That's a bad luck number, man.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I got some ideas, but I'm not going to give them to you because I don't want to. I am a little stitious. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. So, but wow, 13. Congratulations.
It was well planned out when we were married. I was in the Tennessee off week, but that has come to bite me over the years.
That's
what a lot of people do it. They get married on the bye week. But let me tell you, Mac is right. It's a stupid idea. I don't care about the cool weather. Do it in January or February.
It's like that video.
In the South, it's still cool.
It's like that video that I had up the other day where the guy is sitting there talking about things in the South that people all know, and one of them, it shows a picture of a bride crying while everyone else is gathered around a television. He said, if she's not from the South, don't let her get married during football season. She don't know no better. I've been to at least 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that were during games, and games that were like you didn't want to be missing them, and they weren't necessarily my team. But I mean, it was that old school, everyone's, huddled around my phone type of thing. LSU, Tennessee comes to mind. And then there's Oregon, Tennessee. And then there was an Auburn, Florida game. And 2 of those 3 were really close games. And so essentially the receptions were wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. All right, well, let's go ahead and start this off. I want to go ahead and do the postseason bracket here. We lost Justin for a second, so I think he's coming back in.
Maybe his excuse started early.
I'm still here, gentlemen. It's just videos went kaput on me for a moment. I'll figure that out, but carry on.
Okay. Sir. If you need to go out and come back in, just let me know so I'm not ignoring it. Let's go ahead and start with the our postseason brackets. Joey, I'll start with you. Where do you have the American League at?
Ironically, the 2 teams I have winning both these series won yesterday, and I did these yesterday morning, but I have Tampa Bay playing Houston in the ALCS. I have the Astros winning in 4 games and Tampa winning in 4 games.
Okay, but wait, they can't both win.
Well, I'm saying the Astros will beat the White Sox in 4, and Tampa will beat the Red Sox in 4.
I don't care about the number of games because we could be here all day if we do that. So you got Tampa and Houston, and then who wins between Tampa and Houston?
Houston will represent the American League.
Okay, and then in the National League, you have what?
I have Braves beating the Brewers, Giants beating the Dodgers, and then Giants over the Braves, Giants Astros World Series with the Giants winning it.
Giants winning it all. Okay, so let me jot that down. You've got Atlanta versus San Fran.
Yep.
You've got Houston versus Tampa.
Yep.
Then you've got the Giants beating Houston.
Correct.
Okay. Justin, where are you going with your MLB postseason bracket?
Completely different. This is probably going to be laughable, but I'm going to stick to my guns because I still got a shot to pull off my prediction here. But I'm going American League, Tampa Bay, and White Sox. I think the White Sox come back and get it. And out of that series, even though I love the way Tampa Bay plays small ball, I'm going to stick to my guns and put the White Sox in. I picked them earlier. I believed in them all year. I'm not going to back out on them now. On National League side, much as this pains me, I think the Dodgers get the Giants. And I'm going to take the Braves to it's not going to be pretty, but I think they beat the Brew Crew. So I've got Dodgers, Braves. And
we all know how that's going to turn out.
Yeah. But just for purposes, and it goes with my dialogue here, I'm going to put the Braves in. They're finally going to get it off their back, and they're going to do it. And then since you got 2 threes matching up, and it's the old 33, Mr. Steve Avery's coming way back from 1995, and I'm gonna pick the White Sox. Okay. I picked them the whole time, but I've got White Sox Braves.
All right,
we get a 3-3 matchup.
Okay, so I'm going to go. I thought I had. Oh yeah, I've got it jotted down over here. I've got Tampa Bay and Houston. I wouldn't be shocked if they sweep. They looked so good yesterday, both of them. But in all likelihood, someone's going to get a W at home. I do think there's going to be a sweep in the American League somewhere in this first round. But anyways, not really important. I've got Atlanta upsetting Milwaukee mainly because of Devin Williams' injury. I think that's a bigger deal than what people are realizing. I know the Braves bullpen is trash, but the Milwaukee bullpen is their strength. And when you take away a big component of that, I think in a 5-game series, Atlanta can figure out a way to upset them. And I do like our starting rotation to go head to head with Milwaukee. They've got Woodruff. They've got Burns, who's probably going to win the Cy Young. But the Braves have Max Fried, who has pitched as good as any pitcher in Major League Baseball over the last, we'll say 2 months or less. They've got Charlie Morton, Uncle Charlie. I think it was a smart deal to put Uncle Charlie versus Burns today. Because if anyone's going to find a way to go toe-to-toe with them, it'll be him. And I would rather have Fried on the mound tomorrow with my back up against the wall if we lose, right? So I've got Braves. I've got the Giants upsetting the Dodgers. Do you know that right now San Francisco is still an underdog in that series if you grab them? Can you believe the team with the best record in baseball, who obviously is also going to have home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs, they are an underdog to lose in the first series? That's just unheard of. Now, granted, it's a strange circumstance because it's the Dodgers, they're defending champions, blah, blah, blah. But losing Kershaw and losing Muncy, that's not going to be fun. That's going to hurt them in a big way. All puns intended here on Armchair Quarterback Radio. Tampa Bay finds a way to get past the Astros. It's going to be once again. People, how in the hell is Tampa Bay in the World Series? They get rid of Snell. They lose Charlie Morton. They lose basically their start line. Their starting pitchers. And oh, by the way, they just go out and put McClanahan in. Basil go today, who throws about 108 miles an hour on his changeup. And it's just, they keep finding guys and plugging them in. And I believe the biggest thing with Tampa, their offense is so much better than it was last year.
It can play any facet of a game it wants. It can get into a thump contest if it needs to hit dingers. Every one of them, top to bottom, you can get performance, but they can do what a lot of teams can't. They can play small ball. You saw it last night. That was amazing, the home plate steal. You haven't seen that since Baez pulled it off. But that is, my son was sitting there on the couch, and I was so excited we got to see it. It shocked him. He had never seen that play before in his life. I was like, there you go. That's why you watch the game, son. And then, you explain how the next inning, why that was important, that 5th run. And you're like, they play the game right because the Red Sox load the bases. Now, it didn't pan out, but they were one swing away from a 4-4 tie if he doesn't steal that. So
I had all kinds of things puckering up over here, man. I was like, well, God, you kidding me right now? Been dominating this game. It's going to take one wallop. And in Tampa, it doesn't even have to leave the stadium. It just has to hit the right ring, and it's a home run. And even with all that being said, adding King Kong to that lineup at the trading deadline was huge. Yeah. You get Cruz up there, and he's just that force. And of course, Franco plays an exciting brand of baseball, but that pitching is where it all comes in. And I know they're basically just one big, deep bullpen. Well, that's okay. That's how they figured out to win. And they figured that out a while back, that they were never going to be able to compete with Boston, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, name all the major markets, if they did what they do, which is have the big start line framing pitches. You got $300 million at Garrett Cole, and he doesn't even get out of the third inning. But they're going to find a way to have guys go out there. Now, Baz and McClanahan are true starters, but the rest of the way, it's pretty much going to be bullpen. But they do a phenomenal job. And so
I think you got to put that on the skipper. And I mean, I think it goes back to where.
Well, it's the whole front office. Right.
Well, and that it's a mindset. It's the whole debacle with the Yankees and stuff. When he's like, "Hey, I got a whole hurdle of pin that throws 100 mile an hour." It's that. Hey, we're not going to be intimidated by that big market, big money team, and they have been that. It's a mindset, top to bottom. I agree with you.
So that would put Atlanta versus. I'm taking the Giants. It's going to put Atlanta versus the Giants and Tampa Bay versus Houston. I've got Tampa Bay winning and going to the World Series. I've got Atlanta upsetting San Francisco and winning the World Series. They won't beat the Dodgers if they face the Dodgers. We know how that ends. Braves get up there and get excited. They face the Dodgers, kick them in the grapes, roll credits. It happens every time.
But they're going to get Scherzer this time.
The Braves can't beat Los Angeles in Los Angeles. They haven't done it in like 58 years. It's ridiculous how long it's been since the Braves have won a game in Los Angeles. So that's why they've got to play the Giants. And not that the Giants are chopped liver, but it's the Braves' only chance. Your only chance, Obi-Wan. So that's how I've got the Braves getting there, is they're going to upset the Giants after the Giants upset the Dodgers. Both the Giants and the Braves are underdogs in the series before it starts today. I think plus 120 for Atlanta and plus 107 for San Fran. So that gives me Tampa and Atlanta. As much as I would love to put the Braves in and winning the World Series, I took Tampa at the beginning of the year. I'll stick with Tampa. They're just that. You know who they remind me of? If you're a basketball fan, they are the Detroit Pistons of the early 2000s. We're like, you can't even name one guy on the team that you're like, that's one of the best players in baseball. But you put them as a collective and they're lights out. And I would love to say Atlanta can upset Tampa, and I'll be pulling for that if it happens. It's the best of both worlds if they both get there for me, but still, I'm still much more of a Braves fan than I'll ever be Tampa. But dude, you're going to tell me that Will Smith is going to just shut it down in the World Series? That's never going to happen. They're going to have to put, I don't know, can Soroka at least find a way to come out of the pen? I mean, who's going to close these games? That's my only concern with Atlanta. But the future's bright on both markets. Let's go ahead and switch gears and get into our 6-pack on Friday. So I guess we'll do 7 total, because I want to give Justin his 3, and then Joey and I will do 2. So let's start with your lock, Justin, and then we'll kind of go from there. What is your lock for the weekend?
It's going to make my boys cringe, especially because I ain't going to be able to see the game. But I'm taking my Tennessee Volunteers minus 10.5.
I think it's a good pick. I talked about it earlier this morning. It sounds crazy because you're right. Tennessee's giving up 10.5. They're going to find a way to screw that up, blah, blah, blah. But South Carolina's bad. And Missouri's bad. And we saw what Tennessee did to Missouri. It's strangely one of the easiest games of the week to pick. I think Tennessee's being hurt on the spread, and we'll take it. But I think they're being hurt on the spread because of previous years. People out in Vegas, I mean, how many Tennessee Volunteers?
I should really change this pick right now, because now I know what's going to happen, and now my anniversary is ruined. Because if we get boat raced by South Carolina, oh my God.
There's no way.
You need a live-in pool boy.
There's no way. What time is that game? Isn't that an early ball game?
It is.
Where are y'all going for your anniversary? Is it a staycation or what?
It's classified. Can't be disclosed yet in case we have people listening.
Gotcha. Understood. We'll dime you out later. Okay, so Trying to think of who I have in that area that can send someone for video. All right, Joey, give me your lock of the weekend.
My lock of the weekend, I'm going to go to a Big Ten country and take Michigan State. I think I have them at -5.5 against Rutgers.
I like that.
I don't know if somebody's just injured from Michigan State or what, but I watched Rutgers play a couple of games this year, and it happened to be both their losses, and it was ugly. So Michigan State is my lock at -5.5.
So both of your games that both of you just mentioned, I had jotted down because I always go last, so I always have to have multiple picks. So I'll tell you where I'm going to go with my lock. Give me Iowa. The last thing I saw was -1.5. I don't know if that's moved this morning or not. I'll pull it up here in a second. But they're at home. It's going to be a really good game, but they're at home. And that's really what I'm going off of. If this game was in Nittany Lion Country and it was a night game, I'd probably be leaning with Penn State. But it is at home. This is the game that I cannot wait to watch. And unfortunately, two things are going to be going on at the same time. Florida State's going to be getting the crap kicked out of them by North Carolina. 17.5 is the spread, by the way. That is not big enough. And the other one is the Braves are going to be playing Milwaukee in game 2 at 5. So I'm going to have it on. I'm going to be doing both today's Braves game and tomorrow's Braves game. So I'm going to be doing those. If y'all do want to hear the audio, we've had a really good turnout for those, by the way. And I really want to give a thank you to everyone who's said nice things. You know, people have thanked me for doing it. I'm like, man, I enjoy doing it. But that's going to be going on. So those two games are going to be going on while I'm trying to focus and broadcast the Braves game. So if you hear me, yell during a commercial break, it's because Florida State found a way to play even worse than I thought they could.
Just make yourself a note. Hot mic. Sit it in front of you so you remember. Because I know how that can go.
Yeah. I will say this, Justin. All these years we talked about how we wouldn't want to broadcast teams that we pull for. It strangely keeps you so much calmer because you're in the moment of the game and you're very aware that it's your responsibility. Because a lot of people that are listening to the game that people have inboxed me over is so some of them will pair it up to the device they're watching the game on. But a lot of them are in a situation where they're not watching the game or don't really want to watch the game. And they would rather hear, because I deliver a radio broadcast version of it. And they just kind of push the app down and listen while they're doing other things. And I'm very aware that if I don't keep them up to date on what every little thing that's going on, that they're going to be lost. Because now I'm very aware when I watch like last night's baseball game, and I'm like, man, I could never do what they're doing, because if I sat there and took time out where they're like telling some story or whatever, someone's gonna be listening going, what the hell's going on in the game? I don't care about what happened 13 years ago, because in television, you've got the advantage of people can see what's going on. So you don't have to call every little single moment of it. But strangely enough, it has kept me super calm. And when I'm not broadcasting a Braves game, I am not calm. I am not at all. My wife had a rude awakening when we met. We met in November, and then she started around April. She's like, "What is this? What is this?" I was like, "This is like take Florida State football and just multiply it." That's where my emotions are with the Braves. Always has been. And then when it gets October, forget it, man. If I weren't doing the game today, there's usually something broken, usually one of my bones, it's just like, oh my God. Justin, give me a couple more picks here.
I'm going to ride Kentucky one more week. LSU at Kentucky at home -3. I don't think it's a big letdown. LSU's still a big name program coming in. That's a nice W to pair up with that Florida win. So I think they'll be prepared. I think Stoops will have them ready, and Kentucky -3. My third, I will swap over to NFL, and I'm going to take the Lions +10.
Isn't that a crazy line?
Yeah,
that's insane.
I think they're playing.
Did Jared Goff retire? Like, why is it 10?
I was hoping you weren't going to embarrass me with something that I just had mistakenly not known, but I cannot find it. And it
So that channel
that
channel that I've been that I told you about a couple of weeks ago that you know I've been watching on the sports betting. I pretty much just keep that on all day long now, which isn't good for my wallet. But regardless, I do it because they talk the bare bones of the games, which is what I'm looking for. I don't care about ESPN sensationalizing about whether or not Justin Fields should be the starter or not, and he deserves it because of reparations or whatever. I want to hear the bare bones of the game, right? And that they have not mentioned a single thing that would make me understand why it's a 10-point spread.
I don't get it either. Unless there's just, again, some secret that I'm just oblivious to. I like the way the Lions have played some close games. They've played tight, especially against the spread. And so
they didn't cover against the Packers, but there were a couple of plays because that was the NFL game that Sean Steven and I did. And there were a couple of plays during that game that stood out to me that were kind of boneheaded decisions by the coaching staff. They should have covered that spread. But yeah, I can't argue against that at all. Joey, give me a couple of college picks. We'll do our NFL ones on the other side.
Yeah, okay. I'll take also BYU is -5.5 against their home against Boise State. I like that as another one of my games. And also, I'm really staying on this 5.5 point spread track. Ole Miss is -5.5 home against Arkansas. They both had stinkers last week, but I think Ole Miss recovers well. Even though Lane Kiffin should probably stop going for it on 4th down on his own 20-yard line, I think they'll score some big points, touchdowns this weekend.
Well, what dumbfounds me about that is, and I get it that Arkansas is a physical team, and Ole Miss's defense was boat raced by Alabama, but they're not facing the same offense. And I think the defense will play well enough to keep them at bay. And Arkansas's offense was just putrid.
Yep.
Absolutely putrid. And I heard someone breaking it down yesterday. You can tell they didn't watch the game because they were saying, well, I don't know. I think Arkansas can hang in there because they're physical. And that loss, last weekend had nothing to do with the Arkansas offense. It had everything to do with the Arkansas offense because they were getting bullied off the ball. And you found out quick that quarterback is not a quarterback. He is a wide receiver or running back that happens to have a strong arm. I was like, no, maybe I'm wrong on this one, but that had everything to do with they were getting bullied by the Georgia defensive line, and then of course on the defensive side of the ball they couldn't stop anything. I don't think they're going to be able to slow down Ole Miss. I really like that one. Y'all have picked all games because I always pick about 3 or 4 more than I need because I figure they're going to be taken, and these are all games that have been on my docket.
Great minds think alike.
Or
yeah, or
okay, so one of the ones I have my eye on, I'm not going to take it, but tonight's game, that Stanford plus 12.5 is very enticing with Arizona State. They just beat Oregon, and I get it, but Arizona State doesn't put up a ton of points, so I really like that one, but I'm going to stay away from it because I usually don't take the Friday night game. Give me Wake Forest -6. They're in Syracuse. Syracuse is terrible. They just lost to Florida State. There's no way that's a good football team. And the other one that I do like Florida -39, though. As big as that number is, it sounds crazy. Dude, Vanderbilt. Oof. I'm going to take Michigan -3. They're playing Nebraska. I get it's in Nebraska. But I said last week, if Michigan goes out and rolls, I will not doubt them. Michigan looked good. I've seen Nebraska twice this year. They have not looked good, and I don't even understand why they're even a favorite. Because what they're telling me is that on a neutral site, Michigan would barely be a favorite. Usually neutral sites or home sites in college football are worth 4 to 5 points. With Nebraska, I think it actually might be worth I think it's 4.5. You're trying to tell me on a neutral site Nebraska's a better team than Michigan? I just don't buy it. So there is that. Justin, what is your walk-off for the day?
Got my excuse, gentlemen. Urban reached out and needs help moving out of his house, so I'm going to help Urban Meyer move.
He's going to need some helping hands here. I'll tell you what, that freaking move from Jacksonville to Southern Cal in lickety-split time is going to take some arms. Because he's not going to have time to just reflect. He's got to get on the recruiting trail. You know he's going, well, what can I do this weekend to really put the nail in his coffin?
Heard he got some college chicks to help him move out too, Justin, so you'll be in paradise.
Yeah, it's a new startup. It's not two hunks in a truck. It's Gotta go, gentlemen.
All right, brother. Good luck.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, we'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. When we come back, we are going to be talking the NFL lines and our picks. And you can listen to us and figure out what not to do. We'll be back.
It's important to remember the value of taking time for ourselves to do the things that help us grow and explore, like learning something new. And now with the Great Courses Plus, it's never been easier to experience the joys of learning. The Great Courses Plus offers thousands of streaming videos that cover hundreds of fascinating topics, from World War II to choosing the perfect wine. You can even take a course on the U.S. government or dealing with stress and anxiety. And because the Great Courses Plus partners with world-class professors and experts, you're always receiving thoroughly vetted, high-quality content from every lecture. Plus, you can watch or listen anytime, anywhere with the Great Courses Plus app. So take a little time for you. Sign up for the Great Courses Plus today for a free month of unlimited access. Visit thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio to get started. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio.
Now, does anybody in here have a valid reason for leaving this classroom? Timothy.
I got to go pick up my daughter.
You're excused.
The mullet isn't just a hairdo. It is definitely a lifestyle. You're carrying on like a legacy, like your last name, you know? The people that did this in the 80s, they weren't doing it just because, oh, they thought it was a cool hairdo. No, they were doing it because they were badass. You know, if someone asks if you want extra mayonnaise, you have to say yes. This is bringing back like the Paul Bunyan. Then we don't shave our legs. We have chest hair. But yeah, that's the whole lifestyle of the mullet.
Armchair.
Big news and the big games covered in the Big Ten by the Armchair Quarterbacks all year long.
Averaging just under 38 on 44 kicks this year. Nice high kick, got a little wind under it, and it runs powered by but it's a little flip. Well, the ball is actually a little short of the 1 yard line now. It is fourth down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Andre Johnson, Roscoe Parrish, and Kevin Winslow and Dorsey under pressure. Throws it. They went to Hickman. And Penn State well-timed blitz. LeVar Arrington, the All-America candidate, came across.
Well, it was a great athletic play by LeVar Arrington. As you see, he times his blitz very well, leaves his feet, and hits Hickman in the backfield.
Big Ten football covered in the Southeast by the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Hi, this is Britney Spears.
What up, this Jay-Z.
This is Jennifer Lopez. Armchair.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. If you want to know why I don't play music going in and out anymore, there's just too many issues with the devices on YouTube. So again, that blaring sound. I had it happen during a ball game the other night. It was my bad, assuming that everything was okay. And one of the guys comes popping in. It's like, what is going on? Are you trying to run us out of the room? And I was like, oh God, it's that stupid blaring thing again. So that's what's going on with that. So if you're listening to us on radio, you're like, man, he just comes in cold now. That is the reason why. It's not worth the headache.
Correct.
Sing a song in your head as we're coming out of break. How about
wrong.
Don't sing it too loud because it might cart you away. Okay, so real quick, by the way, CMC keeps saying that he's going to play on Sunday. I've got him in a couple of leagues. I really would rather that he wait an extra week. I'm going to be honest with you on that one.
I agree.
And in one league, I do have Hubbard. In one league, I don't. It's got nothing to do with having Hubbard. It's having to do with the fact that he spent pretty much the entire year last year on the questionable and then inactive list every Sunday. We don't want to see a repeat of this. He's an exciting player. Get him healthy and then go from there.
And the Panthers can finally be a playoff team again after the Cam Newton fallout. They got their quarterback, they think now, and Sam Darnold, and Matt Rule's leading that thing pretty well. They just picked up, obviously, the cornerback from New England as well. So, I mean, they have the chance to go places, but McCaffrey has to be healthy. And in a 17-game season, make sure of it.
I do want to go over one game that I really didn't prepare you for, but I thought about this morning. And by the time we come on the air at 10 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, the Falcons and Jets will have already kicked off.
Yep.
So I want to make sure we go over that game real quick, because if anyone's planning on laying the spread or anything like that, we're just not going to have another opportunity to do it. So wasn't there supposed to be 4 games in London this year?
I believe that is correct. Yes.
I believe they're all going off without a hitch, right? There's no reason why any of them are being kept in the States. So I don't know if it's 4 consecutive weeks, but I do know we get 4 weeks of the Jaguars go over there at some point, because they always do. But this week, the Jets are getting 2.5. And the strange thing is that line is not moved. The Falcons minus 2.5. Even though the news about Ridley came out, he's not going to play. He's not even making the trip. They're saying it's personal reasons. Nobody really knows. Everybody's guessing. So I don't really want to put that out there, because I don't want to accuse anyone of anything. But one of the biggest guesses is that they believe, or folks believe, he's not going because he hasn't been vaccinated, and you can't go into the UK. Right. You can't go into the UK without being vaccinated. It's a very plausible excuse.
Correct.
And he may not want to be talking about it, because he may not want to have to deal with it from fans going, "You jerk, you're not going over there because you didn't get vaccinated," and blah, blah, blah.
Selfish, blah, 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 all that crap we always hear.
And in some ways, I would agree with it, except for this Falcons team that's not going to make the playoffs anyways. So, but if this was a situation on a team that had a real shot at making the playoffs, I could say, look, there should have been better planning on his part. And it's a little ridiculous. I believe everyone should get vaccinated. At the same token, I'm against the mandates. So I'm kind of in a weird situation there. I don't believe you should be told what to do about your body. I just think you should.
That makes sense. I'm with you on that logic.
It's safer for everybody. And I had a friend of mine recently try to tell me, well, I don't trust these vaccines, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want to get into it with him. So I just dropped the conversation. But how many vaccines you have to get in your lifetime to even go to school? You don't remember it as a kid, but you get vaccines as a kid. So that whole argument's kind of kooky dukes. But anyways, unfortunately it has turned into it's turned to a political football, which it never should have been. But anyways, and that's how they're tricking people the wrong way. That's how they're getting people to fight against it. And folks are going to continue to contract and get very sick. And it's because they think they're doing the right thing. And I don't think it's fair across the board, but that's a different topic for a different show on a different day. Putting that aside, Falcons Jets, 2.5 points. They're not going to have Ridley, which means finally maybe Kyle Pitts will catch a pass.
That would be awesome because we keep picking him in DraftKings all the time. It's like, come on, man. Come on.
I've got him in so many leagues. I've got him in so many year-long leagues. It's ridiculous. I did trade him away in a dynasty league. It was a big trade between Michael and I. I think we both got a pretty fair deal. It was an 8-player trade. But I looked at it as I can get value at tight end because Schultz was out there on the wire, so I picked him up. And so, and I got Cook back in the trade, so I can play Cook off of Schultz. But the short of it is, I'm gonna have to pull it up because I don't remember verbatim what it was.
And really quickly, while you pull that up, the Dolphins and Jaguars are next Sunday in London at 8:30 in the morning, by the way.
So that's next Sunday.
Yep.
Jaguars are going to be in London.
Correct. Versus Miami.
Does Urban Meyer make the trip?
He won't take the team plane home, probably.
No, you won't. He's going to head to some burlesque over in Amsterdam.
I'm coming home. No, you're not. He is staying across.
Because typically when you get I would assume that means that they probably have the bye week afterwards because most teams get a bye week after the trip to London. So he's probably already making conversations going, guys, everyone's going to have to make their own plans getting back home. We're not taking a team plane.
Yep, they have the bye week. He's definitely not coming back.
Amsterdam's going to be calling. It's going to be like that goofy show where the college football coach takes the head coaching job at for a soccer team. That's what's going to happen. He's going to stay in London and coach the Hotspurs and goes, you know what? Screw it. Here's the trade. This is in a full point PPR. I traded Mike Davis, good riddance, Tony Pollard, Najee Harris, and Kyle Pitts. So those were the two big things that I gave away was Najee Harris and Kyle Pitts, especially in a keeper league. I hated to get rid of Harris realistically, but I got Nick Chubb.
Oh, wow. I like that. Wow. Yep.
And I already have Kareem Hunt. So that was my reasoning for it. And we do 2 flexes. So my reasoning for it was I start them both and I don't even have to have a headache. I just go, you know what? What are y'all going to go off? The other one's going to go meh, and I'll be okay both ways. And then I got CEH, which I'm not the biggest fan of CEH, but he is being utilized more. And then I got Marvin Jones, who's going to have a much bigger role in the offense now that DJ Chark is injured and Jared Cook. I looked at that part as a throw in because what I really looked at it was Chubb and CEH for Najee Harris and Pitts, which I think were fair. Long term, he's going to get the better end of the deal, but I'm okay with it because you can only keep 10 players in this dynasty league. And I looked at it as, I don't know if I want to keep a tight end. I really don't know. You can always go out there and scrounge for one. So I'm okay.
Dime a dozen.
Well, I can keep so much more depth in my other position. So I'll be okay with it. But I felt like he did a good job too. I'm surprised though. If I were him, I would have wanted to make the trade involving Patterson because I have Patterson as well. If it were me, I would want Davis and Patterson and not worry about Pollard. But
yeah, you have the link with Cleveland, then you don't.
I've got the better running back.
Yeah,
at this point, Patterson is a beast, and it will continue to be that way. You know, I've got Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson as my receivers, so I'm set there. But like I said, there's 2 flexes, and I've got to make a decision. I don't know if I'll start CEH or Patterson this week. I feel like you got to start CEH because it's going to be in a shootout. But anyways, we'll get off the fantasy end of it. I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought it was an interesting trade. It was a really good trade.
I like it for you slightly more.
Maybe, but long term, I think he makes out like a bandit, assuming these guys end up doing something. Because I don't think Pitts has even scratched the surface of what he can do. And if he does it, then you know what? If he ends up being what he's been so far, then you just don't keep him. You're going to keep Najee Harris, but you just don't keep him and you just move on.
Right.
Because I haven't even looked at his roster, but I'm sure he's got plenty of studs because it's only an 8-man league. So that's why you're able to keep 10 players. If it would have been a 10-man league, we probably would have only kept about 6 to 8 because you don't want the draft to be absolutely worthless. By the way, Russell Wilson, go screw yourself because I've got a league where I need wins desperately in that league. And he got like 9 freaking points in his little freaking pinkies banged up or whatever. This is the same jerk off that 4 or 5 years ago when he invested into a water company, said, I heal faster and don't get hurt because I drink this blah, blah water, whatever the heck it was, because it's got this and that, and that's why I don't get concussions and blah, 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 blah. Well, you better pour some of that in your pinky, son, because we have like no bench. There's nothing available out there. It's a 12-team league, and it is a garbage league anyways. It's hard to score in this league. And go screw yourself because now you've put me up against the 8 ball this weekend.
Yeah, I was happy to be against him in one league, but man, does that suck when you have him on your team and you never want to see injuries really.
Dude, I'm 1-3 in this league. I definitely need a W.
Yep.
I need a W. This is the league that I brought up last week that we all filled the lineup out together on the.
Gotcha.
I took everyone's advice and still won. That was a terrible advice. Everyone, the consensus was Nyheim Hines. It's terrible advice.
Yeah, he had like 0 points after he fumbled on a punt.
He got -2 off that punt. I don't understand how the league rules allowed that.
I was wondering how he got the -2 because being a Colts fan, obviously I watched the whole game and it was a quick afternoon after that.
It was a punt.
Yep.
He's on special teams.
Hit him in the shoulder.
If he takes that to the house, do I get 6 points for that? No. But somehow I get -2 when he fumbles it. That should be the Indianapolis defense that loses the points.
I would agree with that.
That's ridiculous. We don't get points for any of their anything else.
Yeah, if you're going to get it going backwards, you might as well get the plus side too, right? Can't have it both, but
right.
Yes, you can.
Anyways, we'll move on from that. Let's go ahead and start talking our points against the spread. We'll go 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, back and forth. I'll give you the first pick. Now, these aren't our locks. Our locks we'll do on Sunday, but we do like to throw you a 6-pack of NFL on Fridays because why the hell not? Who are you taking in your first game?
It seems too good to be true. I know the Bengals are 3-1, but I really like Green Bay -3 at Cincinnati. I think obviously Aaron Rodgers is hitting on all cylinders once again ever since that Week 1 loss against New Orleans, and I don't think that stops anytime soon. They also added Jalen Smith to help their linebacker depth. Not saying that will play a factor in this game, but they're geared up, and I think they're hot, hitting their peak, even though Cincinnati might be doing the same. They came off a Jacksonville win, and we all know what happened after that. But Green Bay -3 will be my first pick.
Okay, so Green Bay -3. Let's see what we got here. If you're going to take Green Bay -3, I think I am going to go with give me the Chargers at home -2. I believe that they are going to handle the Browns. The Browns are going to be going out west. Normally, it's usually a tough road to go out west. And I also believe that Chargers team might be a little better than people are giving them credit to be. I'm surprised that they're just a 3-point favorite at home. Because what you're telling me is that on a neutral field, Cleveland is a favorite. And I think it's more of a pick 'em. So I had this line when I went through all my numbers. I had this line at more of Cleveland being about a 3.75, almost a 4-point favorite. If you're going to give them to me at 2, I've got to take them. What is your next pick?
A lot of people might not like this pick because they've been struggling lately, but I think it's desperation mode for the Pittsburgh Steelers that I saw this morning. It's a pick 'em right now. And with the Teddy Bridgewater injury situation at quarterback going on over there, I just really think Pittsburgh, it's a must win. That's the bottom line. They're at home. They have their players back. It's no excuses. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh and a pick 'em over Denver.
Also, the media has been burying Ben Roethlisberger.
Yes.
You know that's always going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Correct.
And I don't think Melvin Gordon's going to play either.
Yeah, it doesn't look likely.
We do have a question. Give me 1 second here. The Chosen Rose wants to know 2 running backs and 1 flex. Got Eckler, Gibson, Patterson, or Damian Harris. What is the latest on Gibson? Have you seen anything on Gibson? Is he let me look that up real quick because he got banged up, and if he is playing, see, he's still questionable. Let me see what he's been doing here. He was limited in practice. Check back with us on Sunday, but right now, because of the injury, you would have to play Harris, Patterson, and Eckler. But if Gibson's going to go, I think I probably go Eckler, Patterson, and Gibson. Because Patterson's going to have a good, healthy chunks in this offense, especially with Ridley not being on the field. Eckler should do Eckler type things. He's at home against a good Cleveland defense, but still they're going to utilize him. So your question really comes down to, is it Gibson or Harris? And I think it's a health thing. I get it that Harris is going to be going up against the Texans, but they're at home. The Texans are. And I think that's going to be an uglier game than what people expect. There was a lot of emotion on that Monday night, on the Sunday night game, where the Patriots almost won that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eckler and Patterson are the no-brainers here. Ride the hot hand with Patterson while you can, and Eckler's just a stud. And then, like Mac alluded to, if Gibson's healthy, to me, you got to put him in there. Now that could change, all injuries aside, but I'm with you.
If Gibson's healthy, roll with them. If not, then you've obviously, or if he's like iffy and they're going to have a pitch count on him, go ahead and do Harris. But I think Patterson and Eckler, because of health reasons, are the 2 gimmies. Let's go to our next. See, you took Pittsburgh. I like that one a lot. I've got that on my list. So you know what, man, give me the Bucks -10. The Dolphins are terrible. They're not going to beat. They're just, I know I hate giving up 10 points in the National Football League. It usually comes down to much less. And I may be wrong on this one. I definitely would have put it down as my lock, but the Dolphins are terrible. How are they going to move the ball against Tampa? If the Colts can blow out the Dolphins in Miami, the Bucks can't blow out the Dolphins in Tampa.
My brother will be at that game.
Well, good for him, because tell him. Normally, I'd say start tailgating and start drinking heavily, but he might want to tailgate with some coffee, because he could be asleep in the third quarter. What happened? Dude, it's still 19-0. You missed nothing. There's nothing going on. I mean, Jacoby Brissett.
Oh my goodness. He roll out right and nothing ever happens. That's him every play.
I watched quite a bit of that game because I got talked into starting Hines and all that stuff. No, it wasn't just you.
I know. It was
everyone mentioned Hines, and then everyone was split on the other guys. So if I bring it up to any of the others, oh no, but I told you this. No, you didn't give me a definitive. You gave me like 2 or 3 names, and everyone kept saying Hines. So that was the name I went with. But now I'm going to be in a bit another. And I was like, man, I left Chris Davis on the bench. Is obviously when Hines gets you like 1 point, there's so many other options I squeaked it out, but I got the W. I was like, my God, this team's going to be 0-4. No, I was wrong. It's going to be 1-4 because Russell Wilson stinks. He can't stay on the field. What is your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick is going to be I have New Orleans -2 at Washington football team. I watched a lot of that Washington Atlanta game last week, and I know Washington ended up squeaking it out, but I was not really impressed. Their defense is not what it was last year to this point. I know New Orleans is very up and down. They were down last week, so I think they're going to be up this week. I know that's coming off a loss to the New York Football Giants, but this is the Saints, the roller coaster they're riding with Winston. I think this is on the high side.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. What is the over under on that game? It's 43.5. Okay.
Yep.
I was hoping it was a little higher because
it's a spooky game, I call it.
If it was a little higher, I'd be jumping all over that under. I still think the under is going to be very difficult to get to. Like the way that they have it played out here is New Orleans wins 23-20 is essentially what they're trying to tell you. That's a lot of points from 2 stinky offenses.
True.
Granted, Washington's defense sucks, but the Saints have a very good defense. They just collapsed in the fourth quarter against the Giants. Okay, so my number 3 pick, man, there's so many ways I can go on this, but just because they're telling me, well, if he gets to 3, it would definitely be the Jets. I want that 3, but I'm not buying any hooks here.
I'm with you on that, and I saw it at 3 the other day. Now it's 2.5.
See, the
any love in the Jags Titans game?
What's that?
Any thought in that Jags Titans game?
No, I'm kind of steering clear of it because
I agree.
See, it seems like they're trying to trick us. Tennessee coming off a loss to the Jets and playing a terrible Jaguar team seems like you would go, man, they're going to kill them. But Jacksonville will have had 11 days off. They might try to rally behind Urban, who knows? And it doesn't look like Julio is going to play. Now, A.J. Brown was cleared to play, so that helps a little bit. But, dude, that offense is disgusting without Julio and A.J. You've got no one could go vertical. No one was a threat. We were all just playing running crossing patterns the entire time. It was terrible. So, yeah, I'm staying away from that. I also wanted that 48.5. Like, how does that get to that? Henry has owned the Jaguars. You know they got to be keying on him.
Oh, no doubt.
They want to keep him under 200 yards at least. So I don't like any part of that game. The over seems high, but same token, it's 2 bad defenses, so I get it. You know the number that I'm going to go with. I won't do Colts versus Ravens because that's the Monday night game, and it's already moved. At one point, the Colts over total was 21, and I was all about taking the under because I don't know how the Colts score 21 points against the Ravens. It's moved down to 20 now. If the Colts win that game, it's a slobber knocker.
Correct. So
I'm really keeping an eye on that. But I think I'm going to go with even another game that I think will be ugly and disgusting and just a nasty one. How are the Texans going to score more than 14.5 points against the Patriots defense? And that's what the number is right now. So I'm going to take Houston under 14.5. It sounds like a low number, but Tyrod Taylor's not playing. I get it. They're going to have 11 days off, but I just think they're going to try to feed it to Ingram, and the Patriots are going to feed it to Harris. And I think you're going to end up with a game where the Patriots find a way to win, but it's going to be like 20-10.
Yeah, I mean, 40-0, that it was 18 points last week. We're like, holy, so many points, but that team looks in disarray without Tyrod Taylor at quarterback.
It really does. Any other games jump out at you before you have to jump off of here?
If I had to go one more game, I will say I like the Bears plus 5.5 at Vegas. Now I'm not saying I think the Bears will win that game, but I do see it being a close game throughout. The Bears now finally made Justin Fields a full-time starter for quarterback reasons, no other reasons. And the Raiders they always start hot. So I think the Bears will cover.
It's gone down a half point this morning.
Okay.
If it goes down another half point, I'm very interested in the Dallas -7 right now.
Oh, if it gets to 6.5.
Yeah. Because the problem that I'm looking at on my board is Dallas is -7, but it's at a -120. So they're already trying to entice you to take the Giants. If you buy it up to the hook to where it was supposed to be originally the -7, if you try to take it down to a hook, it goes all the way down to a -140. And giving up that many points, I don't like playing that game. I've been burned by that way too many times. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
And I can't wait. Talk about a loaded weekend. We got baseball playoffs, which I'll be listening. I've listened to a couple of your games so far. I'll keep that going. Keep up with the great work. Yep, keep up with the great work there, as that's been a lot of fun to see all the views there. But also all other sports, college football, NFL. You can literally sit on the couch once you get off of work today, not move till Sunday night football is over, and you will be in heaven. I promise.
You have to get yourself a scratching stick. You got to make sure
take a shower too.
Yeah, just got to make sure that you don't get any bed sores. Yeah, you're right. You got a quadruple header today in baseball. Double header tomorrow, double header Sunday, and then a quadruple header back on Monday, assuming there's no sweeps. So that's
real quick. You think the White Sox win today? Give my Chicago fans any hope, or you think they lose?
Look, I took Houston on the series line. The pitching matchup today
is Giolito versus.
Oh no way! Valdez is going to smoke him.
Yeah, Sorry,
I'm sorry, but Giolito doesn't show up in big spots. He's good. The talent's there. I'm not saying his career is it's done, but at this point in time, I've got to go Framber Valdez. I'm surprised it's only at a -118, but I think it's because it's playoffs and everyone just assumes there's always a bounce back game. Chris Sale versus Baz today. It's only a -132 for Tampa. Sale's been terrible recently. And I would be shocked if the Rays don't end that thing in 4.
Agreed.
And I think they'll probably sweep. I was expecting them doing that because they just announced it last night. I was expecting them to announce that Sale was going to be their guy in Boston. I was expecting they're just going to roll the dice, say, hopefully we can get one in Tampa, but we got to stop the bleeding when we get back to Boston. And instead, they're going to roll them out there. I don't know what the prop is, but take a look at a prop on King Kong slamming one out of the stadium today. Because Lefty Sale does not confuse Nelson Cruz very much. And Shane Baz, if you haven't watched Tampa Bay baseball this year, watch Shane Baz. That's electric stuff coming out of his arm. All right, brother. Well, we will see you Sunday morning on the on the Handicappers, 10 a.m. Eastern, and we'll be here for tomorrow morning at the same time for the college football kickoff show. It's time to switch over to a little Braves country. We're gonna talk all of the Major League Baseball playoffs. So let me hit the start and stop button here, and we'll be back in just a flash.
Hell is filled with people like you.
This is Sean O'Toole with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Catch me Drive Time with Mac McGee, the Armchair Quarterback radio show and Facebook Live.
Big news and the big games covered in the Big Ten by the Armchair Quarterbacks all year long.
Third down and about 22. Smith drops the ball. He's got his tight end, but he's got Carter. Michigan leads the first touchdown. Carter, 71 yards. Now State's lead 7-3.
In his career, Lorenzo White 15 times rushed for 100 yards in a half. 5 of those this season. On 2nd and 10.
And he's open all the way to the 6-yard line.
Big Ten football covered in the Southeast by the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekends in the fall just got a hell of a lot better. Saturday mornings, it's Dixie Football Nation. We talk SEC, ACC, the Big Ten, and more. As the only true Southern football kickoff show, you don't want to miss it. The Armchair Quarterbacks have got you covered all football season long. Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. We cover the whole SEC all season long.
On first and goal, Franks jump pass. Hello, Tebow. From going deep. High arcing shot. It is hauled in. Terry Godwin. And he stays up. Godwin dances into the end zone. 75 yards.
Tagovailoa flushed out of the pocket. He'll run with it. He's got the first down and more. Still on the run. He is gone. Touchdown, Alabama.
Second down and 10. Garantano over the middle. Ty Chandler. It's a race to the end zone, and he wins it. 42 yards. Touchdown, Tennessee. What a grab.
Armchair.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks Drive Time. Armchair Quarterback Show, good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
You're watching the most exciting game you will ever see on your TV set. Telstar by Coleco with 3 different games. Telstar Tennis with digital scoring, variable speeds. Telstar Hockey. Each player controls a goalie plus a forward on the other side. Oops, a goal. And Telstar Singles Handball, a game you play yourself. Telstar Handball, Tennis, Hockey. All 3 at an exciting low price. For great family fun, hitch your TV to a Telstar by Coleco.
Did you get all that?
Go away.
That was cool. Yeah, customers suck. Check this out.
You're in Braves country.
All right, welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks, and Braves Country is underway. Having some technical issues, so I don't know what's going on with but anyways, I'll worry about that after the show. Let's go ahead and get into Major League Baseball. First, let's talk about the betting lines. And today, starting at 207, Framber Valdez minus 118 on the money line against the White Sox. I really like that one, by the way. Definitely going to be looking into that after I jump off the air. I'm hoping it doesn't jump higher than that. But anyways, Braves at the Brewers plus 135, minus 150. Look, Corbin Burns is nasty. And he is one of, if not the best right-hander in the National League. I think the Braves can pull off the game, but it's going to take a Herculean effort by Morton. I'm just not willing to bet that game either way. And the over-under sits at 7. And if the Braves had the bullpen they did last year, I would probably be jumping on that. But that's a really low number, assuming that no one in Atlanta's bullpen is going to come in and just crap the bed. So I don't like any of those numbers. I'm staying away from that game. I did take the Braves in the series. This game to me is not mandatory for them to win the series. They could even go down 0-2. I feel like they've got a very good chance of winning both games in Atlanta, and you would go back to a game 5 winner take all, and you never know what's going to happen. Tonight, Sale and Baz, the Rays are minus 132 at home. I know it's a big game for Boston, but we still don't know if JD Martinez is going to be able to go. He wasn't in the lineup last night. He did have, he is on the roster. But I have to assume he's not going to play until Boston, that they're going to give it another day. Because game 4 is not going to be until, or excuse me, game 3 is not going to be until Sunday. And they can wait another day. It's not elimination game. I think Tampa finds a way to put this at 2-0. And then tonight, it's Bueller, it's Webb. The over-under is 7.5, which seems a little high. When you have Braves Brewers at 7, White Sox Astros at 8, I would expect Giants Dodgers with Bueller and Webb to be about 7. You're not going to have Max Muncy. These two teams tend to play really low-scoring games. I don't like the over on any of the individuals. The over-under is only 3.5, but I could see the winner of this game being 2-1. This is going to be a hard, knock-fought game, and the first team to 4 is probably going to win it. So the thing I like the most in this game would be the under. Logan Webb being at home on a plus 102. I get it. It's against Bueller, but they've seen Bueller a few times. So it's not like there's nothing new in this rivalry. I think San Francisco might have a chance to pull this one out. I did take San Francisco on the series to win. But let's go ahead and get into what's going to happen here in these series, because first of all, didn't really talk about it. About yesterday's game as far as the White Sox and Astros, but the Astros look to be in peak postseason form. They're running the bases well. They're getting on base. They had 10 hits yesterday, putting a lot of pressure on Chicago. And that was against Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn didn't even get out of the 4th inning. Lopez came in and pitched well. But McCullers coming in and giving Houston almost 7 innings. That's enormous. That means Dusty Baker's got an entire bullpen to work with off today. Doesn't even have to sweat it. Matone threw a third of an inning. Graveman came in for 1, and Presley came in for 1. So he's got that entire bullpen to be able to go toe-to-toe if there is any kind of worries from Valdez. Valdez, to me, is an unsung hero for this Houston team. Now, he's had a couple of shaky starts recently, but all in all, he's been phenomenal. He's got a 1.88 ERA in the postseason, too. That means something. When you have a pitcher whose postseason stats are that low, and the pitchers had nothing to do with the banging of the trash cans. So you can question whether Houston's championship is legit, but you can't question their pitching statistics. A 1.88 ERA. He's played 4 games. He's got 24 innings. This isn't a small sample size. This year, he had a 3.14 ERA. I think they've got a very good chance of making this 2-0. This is the series that I'll be shocked if it goes 4. Because you get them down 2-0. The White Sox didn't seem to have a lot of fight last year. And they go down 2-0. It's going to be really easy to roll over. Well, last year they blew it against the A's. This year, I don't know if they're even going to get off the mat. I still think this White Sox team, this White Sox core, is going to be phenomenal. They've got a lot of things that you love down the stretch. When you look at next year and going on, Luis Robert is an elite player in the American League. They've got good pitching. I just don't think they have quite the experience and the grizzledness to go through the gauntlet of the American League to get to the World Series, number one, but to even get past Houston. Houston feels like they should have won the World Series last year because they have that championship mentality, and that core is essentially there. I get it that they don't have some of their guys, namely the big one that jumps out at you is Springer. But look, when you've got Altuve and you've got Bregman and Brantley, who came up big yesterday, he was 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. Alvarez, phenomenal game yesterday. Gurriel didn't do much yesterday, but he's a solid hitter. Correa. That Houston batting lineup is about as deep as anyone in baseball. And there's a grittiness to it. And there is a definite situation with Houston where you feel like the moment's not too big for them. And if they need to make a move in the game, if they need to get a guy from second to third with nobody out, they'll do the little things. I can't say that for a lot of the other teams in the league, in the tournament. The Braves don't do it. The Braves consistently play, I'll call it undisciplined baseball. I think that's the best way to put it. For the Braves to win the series, for the Braves to get to the World Series, and then for the unthinkable, for the Braves to win it all, there's 2 main things that's going to have to go down for Atlanta. Number one, they're going to have to continue to get phenomenal starting pitching for the most point. You can have a blip here and there. That's why they play series. But you're going to need phenomenal starting pitching. And I think Morton's up to the task. Fried is up to the task. I think Anderson will play big. I just don't know how many innings you're going to get out of him. So when you get to Anderson in the lineup, you hope you have not had to use a bunch of the bullpen the days before. So it's going to be very critical for Atlanta to win against Milwaukee and beyond, that when Morton goes and when Fried goes, that they go at least 6 innings. If there is a 4th pitcher, I would think it's probably Inoa. He's got the best stuff. You could go a million different ways, but I would think it's Inoa. I don't think they're going to try to risk it and roll Tukey or Smiley out there. The biggest shame of the whole thing, I felt like Kyle Muller was playing really good baseball when they sent him back down when everyone else got healthy. And I think that they made a mistake doing that. You can't reverse it now. It's too big of only an injury could you bring him in. But that's going to be an issue with Atlanta, is playing the smart baseball, disciplined baseball. You get a runner on second to start the inning. Let's say today Soler gets a leadoff double. Freddie Freeman is a very smart hitter. Freddie Freeman doesn't even play what you would call disciplined baseball. You see him, he's trying to go for the downs. He's always constantly trying to ambush. Atlanta's one of the lowest teams in all of baseball. I believe they're the lowest of all the teams that made the league as far as pitches seen per bat. I think of all the teams that made the playoffs, I believe that they are the lowest. So with all that being said, when Atlanta, let's say they get a runner on second base, nobody out, Freddie's going to come up and he's going to try to tattoo one over the fence or hit one in the gap. And you love it if it happens. But the smart baseball, the San Francisco Giants baseball, the Milwaukee Brewers baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays baseball, and Houston, Dodgers for that matter, their main concern going up to the at-bat, no matter who it is, in a playoff situation, is they're going to say, I'm a left-handed hitter going up against a righty. I've got a guy standing on second. There's nobody out. I got to make sure I pull this on the ground. If it gets through the hole, that's great. If not, Soler standing on third with one away. And here we go. And then you would have Ozzie Albies. Ozzie Albies likes to ambush. What's more likely to happen with a runner on second and nobody out is Freddie gives it a good ride, but it gets caught. Soler's is able to advance. Ozzie comes up, pops up, and then it's all going to lay on the shoulders of Riley. Righty versus righty matchup with two away. And that's not what you want. You want get them on, get them over, get them in. And that's what wins you championships. And I don't know if Atlanta has quite that roster yet. I think they're building to it. This is another important step. Even if they don't get out of the first round, to get another year of playoff experience is huge. Because you always remember what knocked you out. You always remember it. You always go back, man, if I just would have, why did I not do that? Why did I swing at that? Why did I not swing at that? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? That's the kind of stuff that you work on in the offseason and say, okay, next year, I've learned. Atlanta got up 3-1. 3-1, 3 games to 1 on the Los Angeles Dodgers. They should have ended them last year. They should have won the World Series last year. They were a better team than Tampa. They would have beaten Tampa in the World Series. But they blew it. Snicker choked. That's the main thing you get away from that you can take away from what happened last year. He made some terrible calls. And across the board, the Braves were not disciplined, so they could not hold on to 3-1 lead. A 3-1 series lead should be on a neutral site. We didn't even have to deal with going on the road and blah, 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 blah. On a neutral site, you damn right the Braves choked. But I believe it's more to do with Sticker than anybody else. Now, next year, you're going to have Acuna. You should have Soroka. I don't know what's going to happen with Ozuna, and I don't frankly care. If he's there and he's taking the steps, fair enough. People make mistakes, and I'm not going to, I hate what he did. I also understand the circumstances because she's done the same thing to him. And at some point there's a breaking point, but we don't know the story behind it. So I don't even like you talking about it because I don't really know what led to the events. The police don't know. When they showed up, they were on the tail end of the movie. So, but honestly, if they could find a way to get out of that contract, dude, give me a combination of Duvall and Soler. I think Duvall might be the key to this entire series, this entire playoff run. Remember when Duvall pulled his oblique and was done, that had a big effect on Atlanta. If Duvall stays healthy, Martin at the time was pitching well. If they're healthy, Atlanta wins that World Series last year. And that's crazy because that's like 2 years in front of where they should be. I believe next year is Atlanta's year. They might sneak in and get it this year. but they need to do something, whether it's teach the guys in the offseason that they already have or bring some veterans in from championship teams to put on your bench. When teams start making moves and you've got elite guys, and I'm even talking about Jock Peterson. He should be back with the team next year. Jock Peterson, I guarantee you, is in that dugout today. And he's using his playoff experience. And when they're talking to him, these are all young guys. Even Freddie Freeman, who's been in the league for quite a while, but he's never been on a championship team. He's never even been to a World Series. Guarantee you the conversations are, well, what makes you think you got it over there? And the easy answer for anybody goes, well, because they got Kershaw and they got Bueller and they just, you just couldn't get a hit off. Yeah, but why did they find a way to win to score the runs? And the answer is, well, because this so-and-so hit a big home run in a big spot. No, the answer is because they constantly did the right thing. They moved the runners over. And that's what you have to do. Now, I think the Braves bench is a little better than it has been in years past. When you've got a Jock Peterson sitting on your bench, you like it. But imagine what this team could be like next year if you add Acuna to the starting lineup and see how many guys that you can get to come back for next year. But I believe Duvall is going to be a huge reason why the Braves win. And if they don't win, look at Duvall and see what he did during the series. The three biggest keys to me for the Braves to win, the three players. You're saying, man, if Atlanta's going to win, who are the three players that are going to have to go out there? And everyone's going to say, well, it's Ozzy and it's Freddie and no, because you have to know essentially that that's what they're going to give you. Duvall is going to be huge. What Max Fried does in the postseason is going to be enormous. If he's what he's been, and it's hard to duplicate that, he's got like a 1.65 ERA over his last, I think, 11 starts. The known quantities from guys like Morton. You're not worried about that. But the three guys that I think are going to be extremely important for the Braves to make a deep run, Duvall staying healthy and running into some. He also plays a solid defense, but also he's very good on the base paths too. Max Fried. And look, Soler's a wild card. Rosario is a wild card. But the third guy that's going to have to go out there and perform well, we all know it. We don't want to say it. It's Will Smith. If Will Smith goes out and lays eggs and drops saves, blows saves, gives up runs in tied situations, and he's not worth the $39 million that they gave him for a 3-year deal. This is his second year of that deal. If he's not worth it, because they put themselves in a corner where you got to roll Will Smith out there and you just have to hope for the best. That's how Snicker's got to look at it now. It sucks because we didn't make any kind of move to bring in an elite closer. I still say the stupidest thing that the Braves did this year, didn't do. And look, Anthopoulos did a great job at the deadline. But the one thing he didn't get was a closer. He got Rich Rod, but he has too much contact rate. You got to have a closer who's swing and miss. And the guy who's been going to be wasted is in Chicago. He was in Chicago. He stayed in Chicago. It's Kimbrel. If they brought Kimbrel home to Atlanta to be the closer, and you could have had the option of your setup guys being Will Smith, Luke Jackson. Do you see how much deeper that bullpen gets? How much more elite it gets? You're worried as an opposing team. Man, if we don't get these guys in the first 6 innings, it might be Katie bar the door. And that's going to be the issue. But those are the 3 guys that if the Braves are going to go far, and I don't really know how far they can go per se. But regardless, I've got them going to the World Series. We did our bracket. I think they can make it there, but they're going to need some help because the Dodgers always get them. They can't beat the Dodgers. It's just in their craw. That's why I was so upset in 19 when the Nationals upset the Dodgers and then the Braves choked it away. Thank you, Fulton-Evich. Choked it away in Game 5 against the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals lost to the Nats, and the Nats won the World Series, but the Braves beat the Nats. The Braves owned the Nats. The Braves would have played Houston in the World Series, and I believe the Braves were a better team. They haven't found a way to beat the Dodgers. Go Giants. Let's go ahead and turn back time and get the hell on out of y'all. On this date, this is a good one. This is an all-timer. On this date, 1995, after dropping the first 2 games of the series, the Mariners make a dramatic comeback in Game 5. Remember, this was the beginning of the wild card scenario that we still have today. Ken Griffey Jr., extra inning, slide in from home. Remember, he went first to home. Dramatic fashion. The Mariners upset the Yankees, who the following year would begin their run. That was an incredible game. It comes on Classic every once in a while, and I just stop what I'm doing. If I know that inning's coming up, and that place was rocking. That was a great documentary that they did where they showed Ken Griffey Jr. and the boys. That if you haven't seen that, it shows you how close the Mariners were to leaving Seattle. If it weren't for that dramatic run in the playoffs, which galvanized the entire city, got them a new deal, got them a new stadium. Here comes Ichiro. The rest is history. And the Mariners stayed in Seattle. But they were so close at the time to making a terrible business decision and moving to Florida. It comes up again every year, and they're going to talk about it, blah, 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 blah. It'll be a conversation during the playoffs. The Tampa Bay Rays need to be called the Florida Rays. They need to sit them in the middle of the state in Tampa. In Orlando. Maybe play some games down in Miami. Maybe play some games in Tampa. And send the Marlins packing to Montreal or Nashville or Vegas, wherever you want to send them. And it would fix both franchises. They would both be competitive for a very long time. If you only had a few games down in Miami every year, the Miami fans would come out and watch the Rays. If you only had a few games in Tampa every year, they'd come out and play the Rays. And you play the majority of them in Orlando, where it is the hotbed for tourism, they would support the heck out of the Rays. Not to mention, you would always have people coming to Orlando to watch ball games anyways with their family. Oh, let's go catch the Red Sox. Let's go catch the Yankees. Let's go catch whoever. And while we're down there, we'll go play around with Mickey Mouse. Boom, done, fixed it. You're welcome, Major League Baseball. Birthdays.
It's your birthday today.
By the way, 95, that was also the year the Braves won it. My favorite year in baseball. Sad. It's been too long. Happy birthday. Let me see. Let's grab someone that someone who's no longer with us, as we always like to do. Here, we'll start off with there really isn't one that. How about Pepper Rogers? He passed away in 2020. I don't remember if he was COVID related or not, but Pepper Rogers was born in this state in 1931. He's from Atlanta. He was the head football coach for Kansas, Georgia Tech, UCLA. But what I remember for him most in the USFL, which by the way is coming back this coming spring, he coached the Memphis Showboats. He was very innovative with his offense. I was always a big Pepper Rogers fan because I thought it was a cool name. I was a kid. I heard Pepper Rogers. That's a cool name. And I didn't even have a tie to the state of Tennessee at the time. I liked watching the Memphis Showboats. I liked their name. They played an exciting brand of football because of Pepper Rogers. That Mouse Davis. Remember Mouse Davis played or coached for the Denver Gold? And he was really the one that came up with the no-huddle high-flying offenses. Folks that are still with us, happy birthday to Bill Elliott. Speaking of Georgia, awesome Bill from Dawsonville. Number 9 in your guide, number 1 in your heart. Still probably my all-time favorite driver. It's him and Tony Stewart, very close. Ex-Seminole. He is Martin Mayhew. Happy birthday to Martin Mayhew. He is, wow, he's 56 years old. Ex-Seminole and ex-Tampa Bay Buccaneer. If you don't remember Martin Mayhew, you're not as big of a Bucks or Seminole fan as you think you may be. And see if we got any more. I don't like to get the middle of the road ones because they always grab those on ESPN, so it's kind of a dull as fuck. Well, you know what? We'll just leave it on Martin Mayhew and Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. That's enough. Happy Friday. Have a great Friday. Major League Baseball starts in just 4 hours. You've got the White Sox playing at 2:00 Eastern. At 4:30 Eastern, we're going to hop on here. It's Braves, Brewers. I'll have the call. Probably do a pregame show. Haven't looked at my schedule for today yet, but I think I'll be able to squeeze that in. So we'll probably do a bit of a pregame show, and we will get set for that and looking forward to it. And then of course tonight you got 2 big games. You got the Rays and Sox. You've got the Giants and Dodgers. You got a little bit of college football tonight and a full slate tomorrow. We'll be here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. On Sunday for the handicappers. Tomorrow we will be here at 8:00 as we will get you going and probably start a little more old man radio. Probably going to do more and more of that to start the shows off. There's a long story how that began, but the short of it is it's being broadcasted on a couple of radio stations. And so I don't need the video for it, but I decided, so I've been doing it for a minute, but what I decided to do was go ahead and add it to this show. And because I'm sitting there by myself the entire time, I don't really need the video. So I'm not talking to anyone. So it is what it is. Hope y'all enjoy it. And if you don't, as the kids say, that's unfortunate. All right. We will see you mañana. Have a great rest of your Friday. It's Friday, baby. And it's October. That means baseball, football. Oh my. I can't believe hockey's back next week. That's just insane. We shall see you.
It's Friday, working stiffs. Everybody.
4, 3, 2, 1. Happy weekend! Goodbye, sweetheart, where it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.